So to apply mock objects, we are going to use Mockito. Mockito is the most popular Java framework for mock objects, and I recommend you go to Mockito's website to learn more. Their documentation is very complete, and Mockito is a very powerful framework. So if you are a Java developer and you want to master it, you will have to read the documentation. And what we're going to do in our test case is to get rid of the real database and mock it. So let's just start by commenting out the database access part from the test. Now that our test doesn't use the database class, we introduce Mockito. And the first thing we do is to tell Mockito which class it needs to mock. And in this case, it's the bank account data access object class. The mock method from Mockito receives the class we want to mock. And you see the .class because we are getting the definition of that class from the JVM. Mockito returns the same type of class, in this case, bank account data access object. And this is very useful for us because it means we don't have to change our code that much because the mocked class has the same interface as the real class. Of course, for Mockito to do this, there's a lot of magic going on behind the scenes. But for us consumers of the framework, we can just take advantage of it. The second part, as we discussed in the previous video, is about setting the behavior we expect. And for this mock, what we want it to do is to return a list of bank accounts when the method all is invoked. And this list of bank accounts can now be just an in-memory list, way simpler than a database. So that's what we do here. We create an array using the array.asList method from Java and add two bank accounts, account 1 and account 2. And then we use Mockito.when method. When the all method happens in this mock object, then return this list that we just created in memory. With these two lines of code from Mockito, we now have a class that simulates a database object, and this mock object is able to return this in-memory list when the all method is invoked. That's nice. We're almost there, but now I want to point out a few changes in the production code as well. So look at this constructor that is commented out. You want to make sure that the production code is not using new, because this will use the real database, and that's not what we want. We want our code to use the mocks when this program is being tested, and we want the program to use the real class, the real data access object, when the program executes for real. A common way to do this is to receive the class we want to mock as a parameter of the class, and we usually do this in the constructor. So as you can see in this code, the bank account filter class now has a constructor receiving the database object. And this is nice because due to polymorphism of the Java language, we can pass any class that is or inherits from the bank account DAO class in this constructor. In other words, I can pass the real one, the one I want to be executed in production, but I can also pass the mocked one just for tests. So our production class is now more flexible, and this pattern has a name, and it's called Dependence Injection Principle, which we'll discuss below this video. So if we go back to our tests, you can see we will pass the mock via the constructor. And in terms of implementation, that's it. What happens is, as soon as we execute the test, the filter method invokes the all method in the data access object, which is now a mock. And this means all will return the list we created in the tests with those two bank accounts. And now we completely got rid of the database, and we are able to test our bank account filter class without being bothered by the complexity of having a database in our tests. This is again a unit test. And because of the mock object simulating the database, we can now explore other tests for this class in a much easier way. This is what mock objects are about. They help us simulate the behavior of classes so that as testers we can focus our energy on the class we want to test and not on its dependencies.